Hey, this is Cave Cat again, here today to bring you another great episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. After 4 episodes of this review series, we now come to the 5th episode. This time to talk about a rather obscure show that I remember watching a lot on Saturday mornings back in the early 1990s. Have you ever heard of a man named Peter Keefe? I'm not surprised if you haven't. He was actually the guy who was responsible for bringing Voltron and Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs to America back in the 1980s, as well as also serving as the executive producer for Denver the Last Dinosaur. Then in the 90s, he actually produced 3 animated series for Calico Entertainment in association with Zodiac Entertainment. I will be reviewing one of those shows for today's episode. So what's the show? Mr. Bogus. I'm sure that there's a lot of you out there that have never heard of the show, and there's actually a good reason why that is, but I'll get to it later. But anyway, to start off, Mr. Bogus first started as a series of claymation animated vignettes, simply known as Bogus, that were created and produced in France and Belgium in the late 1980s by 2 guys named Michel Dureau and Ghislaine Honor. I know that I probably did not pronounce those names right. These shorts were so popular in Europe that once Peter Keefe discovered them, he decided to bring them to America and nationalize them, making a 2D animated series of these claymation shorts, with the shorts serving as wraparounds between acts of each and every episode. The show follows the adventures, or rather misadventures, of the eponymous character Mr. Bogus, or simply known as Bogus, a 3-inch tall, yellow-skinned gremlin-like creature who lived in the walls of the suburban home of a young boy named Tommy Anybody. I'm not making this up. That's literally the kid's name, Tommy Anybody. Anyway, each episode basically has Bogus go through different kinds of adventures and misadventures, all while inadvertently causing problems wherever he goes, but he always finds a way to solve the problems that he caused. The show premiered in September 1991 and ran for 3 seasons until ending in November 1993. It's pretty impressive for a show like this to be able to get 3 seasons under its belt like that. But moving on, the show has Bogus go through all sorts of escapades and crazy antics, ranging from accompanying Tommy to school, going to the shopping mall, going camping, going to the beach, going to the Olympics, or even to the zoo. The show is funny and fast-paced, and it keeps you on your toes the whole way, because you never know what kind of crazy misadventure Bogus will get himself into, a little bit like the Little Lulu cartoons, but toned down slightly. The only difference between this show and Little Lulu is the fact that at least Bogus isn't as outright malevolent in the antics and shenanigans that he causes as Lulu is. The characters are rather hit and miss. Mr. Bogus himself is the wild and wacky main protagonist, who, combined with his mischievous yet well-meaning demeanor along with his gluttonous appetite, will often get himself into any situation, and most often than not will often end up suffering from physical abuse because of it. Braddis is the younger cousin of Bogus, who is even more crazier than Bogus is, and as his name implies, has a tendency to act rather bratty and even more mischievous than Bogus. At times he kinda grated on my nerves, but he's still an okay character. Tommy Anybody is the long-suffering school-age boy that Bogus lives with, and although he's good friends with Bogus, there are times when he considers Bogus a nuisance, especially when he causes trouble whenever he accompanies Tommy on a day trip of some kind most of the time. And now for the villains. Ratty and Mole, who are respectively a rat and a mole, are 2 of Bogus's main recurring enemies, who strive to try and steal anything they can get their hands on. But of course, Bogus always manages to thwart them. I actually think that these 2 are pretty cool villains, with Ratty being the sneaky and dictatorial leader of the duo, and Mole being the more placid and dim-witted one of the duo. In some ways, they kind of remind me of Stan Woozle and Hef Heffalump from The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which I did a review of in the previous episode. There's also the Dirt Dudes, who are actually anthropomorphic dust bunnies that live to cause trouble for Bogus and make messes everywhere they go with their dirtiness. But Bogus always seems to find a way to keep them under control. There's also 2 guys named Jake and Butch, but they're nothing more than just blatant copies of Harry and Marv from the first 2 Home Alone movies. So, those are the characters for the show. There are other recurring ones too, but it's best not to cover them at the moment. From what I recall from reading reviews on this show, what very few reviews I could find, a lot of people seem to be rather split on this show. A lot of people like it because of how funny, crazy, and wacky it is, while a lot of people don't like it because they think that Bogus is a little too obnoxious and annoying. Yeah, Bogus is kind of obnoxious, but not as obnoxious as some people say. So anyway, like I said before, the show ran for 3 seasons, so that means that the show was pretty popular, right? Well, actually, it wasn't. You see, After the show ended its third season, it did air in reruns, but the thing is, this show actually aired on syndicated television. Sometimes syndicated shows just don't last long, with the exception of when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aired in syndication for the first 3 seasons before moving to CBS. After the show completed its run, it got taken off the air and was never seen again, aside from it briefly rerunning on Fox Family, now known as Freeform, back in 1998, airing from August of that year to November. Unfortunately, that was it. After a few months of rerunning on Fox Family, it got taken off of the schedule and was never seen on American television again after that. And now I regret not getting the chance to have seen it when it was rerun because I was too excited over the fact that Garfield and Friends had been rerunning on Nickelodeon around the same time as well. But let's not dwell on the past too much. Even though the show was never seen in America again for years, at least it was able to be rerun very frequently across other parts of the world, such as the UK and many others. This is one show that I'm hoping will get a reboot sometime in the future. However, with the death of Peter Key from over 10 years ago, it seems unlikely that that will ever happen. But even in spite of this, I will give Mr. Bogus 9 stars. Even though Mr. Bogus was not seen on American television for many years, at least several YouTubers that have recorded the show when it aired on television are actually making an effort to upload various episodes of it on YouTube in order to preserve it. It's one of the things actually keeping it from getting lost in the sands of time, because Mr. Bogus is a partially lost series, like Cartoon Network's The Moxie Show. Unless some TV executive wants to put the show on a streaming service like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, or even Max, good luck trying to find more episodes of the show online. Well, that does it for this episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. Stay tuned for the next episode where I review a certain Christian animated series that was produced by Big Idea. Until next time, later!